Welcome all of you to this lovely online session with Mr. Anand. So I'll just let you know how we will proceed with this session. So first we'll have a short interview with Mr. Anand in continuation with our interview with Inspiration series. And then Mr. Anand will show his work and he'll talk about what's latest in the AR and VR industry. And then after that, we'll have a quick question answer session. So those of you who have questions, you can go ahead and ask your questions. One guideline is that please have a notebook and pen ready with you. Keep it handy, or have a notepad or something open so that you can type in your questions whenever whenever you have a question. We won't interrupt the flow in between. So if you have all the questions written, you should be able to ask them at the end. So with that, let us begin. So let me first introduce our guest today. So Mr. Anand Kumar is an engineer. He's from Chennai, and he loves technology of art and the art of technology. So he has a degree in software engineering and experience in creative arts. So that's a very rare combination and a very useful combination indeed. So he has spearheaded more than 60 projects, like big projects. वो projects कैसे हैं? So they deal with fashion industry, they deal with retail, gaming, advertising, education, training to real estate, everything. और वहाँ पे जो virtual gaming, augmented reality, virtual reality, visual AI, chatbots. So all these things जो आजकल एकदम मार्केट में लेटेस्ट है और जो एक्चुअली कल का हमारा पूरा पाथ सेट करने वाले हैं कि टुमारो how will technology look like tomorrow. तो उसमें he has been engaged with all these things. Research planning करते हैं. Then he does competitive analysis of unique propositions. So lots of things. बहुत देश की बड़ी कंपनीज में उन्होंने काम किया है. So he started off as an animator, लेकिन धीरे धीरे जो है वो क्रिएटिव डायरेक्टर और उसके बाद so right now क्रिएटिव टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट करके एक कंपनी है जिसमें ये VR का काम करते हैं, AR का काम करते हैं, एंड इमर्सिव टेक ट्रेनिंग उसके ये डायरेक्टर हैं अभी. सो थैंक यू सो मच मिस्टर आनंद फॉर स्पेयरिंग द टाइम टू इंटरेक्ट विद आवर स्टूडेंट्स, एंड आई रियली होप दैट this session proves to be very useful and inspiration for all our students. Begin with the first part of our session today, the interview with Inspiration series. And let me tell you that all this time throughout the lockdown period, we have been reaching out to artists and entrepreneurs from the industry to get to know and trying to get to know how the industry is functioning today. So we'll come to that in a moment. Why don't you start by telling us about your journey as an artist, as an entrepreneur? How did it all begin?
There's something common between everyone here. I would like to say that there is something very common between you guys and myself. The common thing is that we are all very brave people, or I would say we are all very bold people. And why do I say that is because we have all based our career or the future of our lives, the lifestyles, the salaries, everything. We have based all that on the fact that something we don't know, we are not very clear about. What is that? We all want to become artists, 2D, 3D, whatever. Basically, we all want to become artists, and we want to base our life on the salaries and careers and everything around that, based on the fact we don't know, right? So we all think that we are good artists, and we all want to be good artists, but we don't know that we are good artists. So everyone starts like that. I started like that, and all my friends who are made big, who have had success in this career, have started like that. And believe me, even the best artists in the top of the world, I mean, the best artists of the world, everyone starts with the idea that they want to be an artist, but they don't know if they are a good artist, and they are in the pursuit of being the good artist. They are all very brave people because, I mean, being in India, you all know that you would have had a lot of advisors to choose a career which is safe for you, where even if you're average in that career, you will be able to make a salary and a job and a career out of it. But not in this field. In this field, you have to be there to deliver, right? So when you have based your life and career and a future upon that fact that you want to be an artist, but you don't know that you're a good artist or not. That is why I say that we are all very brave people, and everyone starts like that. You also are starting like that. I still have that doubt. Everyone, we have this constant pursuit of excellence. So on that note, I'll explain you what I do now. What my designation right now is a creative technologist. I don't think many people might know what is creative technology. What I do exactly is, for the last 8 years, I kind of act as a bridge between the creative part and the technology part. Okay, so creative is what you guys know. You already know that the 3D animation and all that are surrounding that. Your script, this, that. And technology is what I do in the last 8 years, because that is how the world is going towards. So I've made myself equipped to that. So that is the immersive technologies, which is augmented reality, virtual reality, XR, and all that. So I act as a bridge between these two areas, and I blend them together to create a product. Uh, because in AR, VR, not everything is entertainment. There is entertainment and there is non-entertainment, and there is a product which has to make some money for the owner. So I blend everything together, and I kind of oversee from the start to the end, the go-to strategy to the market, and the market strategy is marketing also. You know, that's how my journey has been. But I didn't start like this. This is how the journey took me to. But I started as someone just like you, who wanted to be someone, to just work in animation studio, as in any department. I didn't have a clear idea of where I will work, in which department I'll work, modeling or texturing or animation, whatever. I didn't have any idea when I started, just like. So I started like that, and then somehow I zeroed in on 3D animation, because that is where I had most of my interest towards. I believed that I am better in that. I believed, on quotes. So I joined as a 3D animator, and in some of the, started in a very small studios and then graduated to the bigger studios, the top studios. Worked there for many years. Then slowly I graduated to animation supervisor and then animation director. That was when I started my own company called Fat Balloon Animations. So I started from 3 or 4 people, and then I scaled it up to 660 people in 3 to 4 years. We delivered a lot of animation shows, commercials, worked on a very few regional live action movies in visual effects. And then we made our own episode, own IP in partner with a Canadian company. So that was the journey, as me as a co-founder and animation director come creative head. In a startup, you end up doing everything. Okay. So that got ended. Some acquisition happened, and we had to move. I had to move away from that company. That was when the Unity and the mobile games came into the picture. So with my engineering degree, which was not really I was very fond of, somehow that helped me, took me towards, and then I started going full fledged into that. Then augmented reality, virtual reality, they came into the place. And somehow my combination of starting from 3D animator to running a company where I had to do everything, and then I know the whole pipeline. So that helped me to put together a good combination, and my understanding of tech with my engineering degree. That combination was helpful in me in going a little bit further on the same area of augmented reality and virtual reality. And my learning with the product and how a product has to be, all that is what I do now. And I worked on many AR VR applications. I consult for 2-3 companies in the augmented reality, IT companies in augmented reality. I'm not much into proper entertainment industries now. So, and then recently last year, I came with my own virtual reality V20 cricket, which we launched in Fun City in Chennai, which was launched by DJ Bravo, who plays for Chennai Super Kings. That was a good success, and we were supposed to scale it up to all the fun cities in South India and then to North India, but then the COVID happened, and now we are kind of slowing down on that. So the next slide, I'll share you what my first demo was before. I think it was before 10 or 12 years. I'll just share my first demo, whichever I made. So it will be a surprise to you that I don't have any modeling here. I don't have any lighting here. I don't have any rendering work here. But this demo got me a job with a salary of 50K when I was 2 years or 3 years experienced.
Ain't nobody gonna win. It's just gonna go on and on.
Can't go on forever.
Yeah, but ain't nobody gonna win. So.
Somebody's gonna win.
I'm no longer your doctor.
Just because of this?
Because of this little double homicide? Yes, because of this.
So that's it. That was my just 40 seconds demo, which got me a job pretty much in all the top companies. And there is another. These are the tests which I did for a few companies in Mumbai and Bangalore. There's no sound here, so.
Okay.
So this is the episode which I directed and oversaw when I was in my.
We're doomed! We'll never get away with it! You are not doomed. You're just panicking irrationally. Doctor, I hate to drag you into this mess, but we all...
So it's a long episode. It's a 7-minute episode. So I think we can stop with that. Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
With all lighting and nice textures and all that. That never got me a job. But these demos, immediately they got me a test or a job. All these things I'll share with you, but in my session I'll share that with you. So that's the show. Long story short. Over to you, Risha.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, could you also tell us about some of, so you have already spoken about your milestones, but some of the challenges that you had faced and how did you overcome them?
See, starting out, the biggest challenge was to find out where I am good at. Okay. Because when I started it was 3D Max, and then Maya came after. So if you go to the tutorials of 3D Max, Maya, pretty much whatever is online, I copied that and made a movie. I saw that and I did that. But everyone was doing that. I was learning bits and pieces of everything. I didn't know what I was good at. But in the animation, when you enter animation studio, if you are a modeler, you won't touch the character animation. If you're a character animator, you won't even go into the modeling department. You may have an idea, but you won't be able to even touch the models if you are working in an animation studio. So the biggest challenge was to find out where I am good at. So that was the initial biggest challenge. Then once I found out, I thought I found out. Then once I found out, then to find the right mentor to learn that skill, that is the second biggest challenge for me, because internet was not like this before when I started out. Now we have pretty much everything. You want to learn a skill, it's there online for free, almost for free. You don't need anyone, but you can just self-learn these days with a little bit of guidance. At that time, it wasn't like that, and the online training wasn't. Even though there was internet, the training wasn't there for free at least. The second challenge, biggest challenge, was me to find a mentor who I was not able to afford a foreign college or going to US to learn. So being in India to work on the Indian salaries, and I had to spend only that much, where I know that my salaries will be that much. So the second biggest challenge was to find the right mentor to learn the right skill. Once I decided this is my area of specialization. Third biggest challenge is once you learn the specialization, then to make yourself, okay, you got a job in your animation studio, you're working there, you're earning decently. Then how to improve? You have like 30, 40 people doing the same thing which you are doing. And how do you actually progress in your career? What are these things which we need to learn? So that is further learning which which was wanted of me. And somehow my startup gave me that. But even otherwise, inside the studio also, I don't know how I have to set apart myself or to have a career growth inside the studio. So these are all the main challenges as with at least in the last, when I started out before 15 years, this was the main 3 challenges.
Great. So moving ahead, could you just talk about what kind of market trends or what is the market scenario now, keeping in mind the COVID situation? Is the market going to grow or will it crash or what?
See, there are, let's take it one by one. Okay. So what has COVID actually affected? It has affected all the industries. It has affected travel. It has affected the entertainment industry. The theaters are like pretty much not functional. And it has heavily affected the visual effects industry because they are all dependent on the theater releases. But the COVID has not affected the TVs, right? Everyone is before the TV because they are stuck up in the house. So when we say that COVID hasn't affected the TVs, then the TV shows also, it hasn't affected. Visual effects company, they have taken a hit because it's all dependent on the movies, and then movies are not going to be released for the future. So visual effects company has got a hit.
So there's no shooting happening.
So shooting has officially they can shoot, but the top artists, they are scared of taking a risk, right? And if they plan everything and then once the lead actor gets affected by COVID, then they have to stop everything. A lot of investment which has already been put on. Exactly. So it's not a very safe place for the top artists, the heroes and heroines. For them it's not a very safe. And financial also for the producer. Let's say they make the set ready, they have all the crew, they pay them, and after 4 days, what if someone is affected? So they have to cancel everything. So they're not actually starting anything. The TV shoots have started. As I told, TV is on the boom. Everyone is before the TV. The TRP is very high. So whatever his shoot is happening with regards to the TVs, they are doing very well. And online also it's doing well. Games have started doing very well because now that for the next 1 year or 2 years, and also work from home being like a new normal, many are they can't really go out to have any kind of entertainment, right? So they are going back to the games. The mobile games scenario is like picking up like before. There was a little dull period because everyone got bored of the mobile games. Now it is again started to pick up. So all the studios, animation studios who are making mobile games, who's onto Unity and all that, they are also doing very well. They're also recruiting. So for the future, till this visual effects, as with visual effects, it will take some time.
How has it been for your company? Like, have you had to do any layoffs, or are your people working from home? Which mode do you prefer better?
See, I consult for 3 different companies. Okay, so one company is this V20 Cricket, which is basically a virtual reality cricket, where it is for a B2C audience. We have our V20 virtual headsets, and we are across all the Fun City malls in Chennai and South India. This has got a heavy hit because the malls are shut down and the Fun City and entertainment is all shut down. And even when it starts after a few months, I don't think anyone would really dare to wear something on their head, which other people are using. Even I myself won't do that. So that company is hit. And the other company, they deal with augmented reality for education. So what they do is they make augmented reality experiences, which you can see through mobile. So that is doing well because now even the school children are starting to learn online, and to explain it better, you don't have a board here. They should be dependent on the monitor. So that way, the augmented reality is helping them visualize the subjects better, and that company is doing well. The other company, they are into chatbots and you know virtual meetings and all that. That is also doing well because now everyone wants to have virtual conferences. Like say, for example, you have your real estate conferences, physical conferences, which used to happen before, right? There'll be a car exhibition, there will be a real estate exhibition. All that is not happening though. So all those vendors, they want to have a platform where they can use it to gain some traction. So everyone is getting into this VR shopping and VR malls and all that. So the physical malls are being replaced by those virtual reality scenarios, and the companies are getting orders on to develop those kind of products.
Great. So it's like a mixed bag for you.
Yeah.
So, what kind of preparations do students start making right now when they are still studying? So, I'm asking it from 2 point of views. One is, making oneself more sound technically, as in learning software and all those things. The other one is developing that artistic mindset. And the third one is, which is the most important, I think, is what kind of mindset shift they'll have to see, or they'll have to do that, because when you are a student, it's a very different life. When you enter the industry, it becomes very different. So what kind of how do students prepare for that?
See, when you ask about entering my field, you mean the immersive technologies, AR, VR, right?
Yeah, of course.
So students as such, I think the early they get a clarity on these things, the faster they'll go up in the career. The one thing they need to decide is which is that one field or one craft which interests them the most. Okay, is it animation or modeling or lighting? And how you can do that is forget about Maya, forget about all the softwares. Generally, what are you interested in as with arts? Do you watch movies? Do you do paintings? Do you read a lot? Okay, or do you like music? Okay, you start from there. So now take that further. If you already have an inherited interest in photography with light and colors and framing and of general photography as such or videography, then you take that same interest into the animation field, and you'll be even more interested with what possibilities the softwares in 3D can give you. But let's say if I am not interested in photography, I never handle a camera. But if I want to light and texture, that's not naturally I'm going to be good at. But rather, let's say I like movies. I like to watch good actors. I have a sense of taste to picking up the best acting. Even let's say I like whoever I like are the best artists, best actors in the world. That means I have a sense or eye for acting. Then it's much easy for me to get into character animation, because character animation starts with the basics of principles and all that stuff. But the end goal is you give a good acting performance on the screen in 3D animation. So my natural interest, if it is about seeing and appreciating movies and liking to see good acting shots, then I can put myself to being an animator. Or if my natural sense or my natural interest is making something like a clay modeling or sculpting, or I like to play with clay. I have a sense of perspective and the form and the design. I can draw a little bit. Then I have to put myself in modeling and expression. I mean, character modeling and other modeling sets. So this is how basically when someone asks me, this is what I tell them, that you think where you like, even where your interest lie, and choose a specialization based on that. Now the second question, entering into AR and VR, it's a totally different ball game. And being an artist doesn't have anything to do with AR VR, because AR and VR is only about learning the tools which will make your assets fit into this technology, right? So it's a pure technical standpoint adjustment which you need to make to enter into AR and VR. Augmented is real life. So there's a lot of adjustments which you need to make in your workflow to get the final output, what you already make in Maya or any other software. So it's a perspective shift, but artistically, there is nothing you need to learn to enter this AR and VR, but technically there are a lot of things which you need to learn workflow wise. But to have a career in AR and VR, okay, you entered AR VR, but how do you how to make a career out of it? Because you will end up as just a guy who is making modern textures if you don't know the right path in AR VR. So the career growth in AR VR is you enter as a artist, but you have to become a technologist. You have to learn about the technologies surrounding this. You need to understand a little bit of AI. You need to understand a little bit of machine language. You need to know what is IoT. You need to know about the servers. You need to know about the optimizations and how the latency affects your performance, and then about the product. That is a whole different journey once you enter. But if you have an eye towards that, then this is an exciting field because we are at the early stages of something which is going to transform the way we look at the world in the next 10 years.
I think those are very powerful words that you mentioned in the end. So my last question is, what are recruiters looking for in a student showreel?
Okay, how many here has made a reel already?
Yeah.
How many of your students have made a demo reel already?
So those who are in third year, they are passing out, they have their demo reels, and a few students from SY also have it. Those who are, so some people do freelance work, so they have their work.
So when they make a demo reel, what do they apply for?
Yeah, so that depends. So a lot of times we have seen that students are really confused. So sometimes they would want to do modeling. Yeah. They'll say, no, we want to do rigging. No, then animation. That keeps on happening.
Yeah. So as you saw in my reel was, I used the free rigs. Okay. I used the free rigs. I didn't even make a render. So what I'm hinting here is you exactly need to know which designation you're applying for. I will cover a little more of that in my presentation, but ideally, what recruiters look for, if you apply for a 3D modeler job, and in that also, if you're applying for a 3D character modeler job, then they would want to see only characters. Just only. You don't need to show sets. You don't need to show your animation. You don't need to show rigging. You just show a kick-ass character and the loops in the character and blend shapes if you're applying for a character modeler job. If you're applying for a set modeler job, you only show the sets. Okay, character, if you're good at, you can show that also. But mainly you show your set, how you have optimized it, and what your texturing skills, rendering skills if you have. If you're applying for a character animation job, you don't have to show anything other than the character animation. Just your keyframing ability to make the character come to life. That is all. And rendering, just show renders and the breakup of the renders. Okay. So see what you're applying for and decide what you want to become and just make a demo reel only for that. That is the best way to get a job.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Or if not, if you want to be a generalist, then you put everything together and apply for a generalist position.
Great. Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end of the first phase of this session. So the interview part is over, and now Anand, it's over to you for your presentation on AR and VR. And
a big change which happened in my life and the career. So I would like to share with you 3 long walks in my career. What I mean by 3 long walks is it was a very long journey for me to going from one place to physically walking. So these 3 incidents shaped my career, I would say. The first thing is, as I said, I finished my college and I was working as a 3D in a 3D company. I was doing a little bit of this and that. a little bit of modeling and animation and all that. So this was the time when everyone said that 3D animation was booming, and everyone was saying 3D will take over the 2D. Okay, a lot of 2D artists, they were really worried about these things. Some started learning 3D, and some didn't care. So that was the time when three animators or animation directors from Philippines, they joined my little studio. They were already well established 2D animators. In Philippines, 2D animation industry is huge. Everyone from a family is a kick-ass artist. That is how the Philippines is, even now. So Disney started their second studio after in US in Philippines. So the drawing and the arts is very deep rooted in Philippines. So I had the opportunity to work with these animation directors who were animation directors in 3D. So they joined my little studio, small studio, to learn 3D because they wanted to shift into 3D. And I was supposed to teach them Maya and how to animate in Maya, keyframing and all that. So I spent a week with them. I explained them how what is a rig, how to make keys in Maya and all that. So after a week, so I saw their first animation in Maya, first hard-hitting incident where I knew that then learning the softwares is not equal to learning animation or art. So then I decided that I will learn that, and I resigned my job because I wanted to. When everyone was learning, everyone was trying to learn 3D and to become a 3D animator and join a 3D animation company, I resigned my job as a 3D animator and I wanted to learn 2D. That's what I did. So then I made my own demo reel, made a lot of demo reels. I started applying to all the companies left, right, and center. Got rejected by most. And then the test I gave was a company in Mumbai. I think it was Crest Studios. See, whenever I make a demo reel, most of the places I don't get a call, but some of the places I get a call. I already failed on one of it, and I was really sad about it, and I was worried about it. The last also I failed. Then that was like a totally shattering for me. I didn't know if I would ever make it as an animator. So then I decided that, okay, now for me to really have a career around this, then I need to get into 2D. And I stopped animating in 3D, and I spent almost a year learning the basics of 2D animation. Now, what I mean by learning 2D animation is, or even as not just with regards to animation, even in modeling or anything, there is a difference between arts and craft and the tools. So now what is art? We're starting with art is, everyone is an artist. Art is when you have an idea or expression or something to say, right? You have something you need to communicate, or you have an emotion you need to put forward, or you have some kind of a vision which you want to express. That is art. That you can do it in various mediums. You can do it using text. It can be a poetry. It can be a story. That's screenwriting. It can be music. It can be visual arts. It can be anything. So when you have that art, that is a totally different skill set. Okay, now you have that. Now when you choose a particular medium, you can do it through images also, which is photography also. You can say emotion. Writing, it could be bring out emotion. So wherever. So you decide one craft. So that is a craft. So with regard to us, it is the 3D animation, which is a visual medium. Certain things which you're seeing on the screen, sculpting, modeling, anatomy, figure drawing, animation, drawing in motion, and animation, color theory, all these things. These are the crafts, which are basically the rules to make your expression be in an aesthetic way. All right. This is one part. And the third part is the tools. And these keep changing. It starts with 3D Max. Now it was Maya. Now there is Blender, which is open source. And after 5 years, there will be something else. These are the tools. Now, I didn't have an understanding of this when I started. I was learning a lot of tools. I was learning the menu in Maya. I was learning, or in Max, I was learning about that. But I didn't learn this craft of it, and I didn't learn the art of it. So then now I understood this. Then I slowly started learning the craft of animation, and then the art of animation. And when you learn the art of animation, there are other branches around it. So when I made this transition, I was able to understand there is a difference between what is realism, what is believability, and what is cartoon. Now, most of the things when we start out as students, we think that we see something very realistically made, and immediately we say, "Wow!" Right? That is how most people are. But when you learn further and further, you will understand that making a real replica of anything, just producing it, is kind of easy. You know the tools, you can do that. But to take it one step further, if you can exaggerate it or if you express it in a different way, if it is a model, if you want to make a realistic model, okay, you kind of learn the tools, you make it super realistic. They won't ask you to do that. They'll give you a character based on a design which is not realistic. So you need to understand what is behind the design, the thought process of the designer. So suppose, say, a character is a hero, it's a protagonist. The protagonist is supposed to look confident, two, sad, three, with a lot of self-doubt. Your model, whatever you model based on the front and the side, you need to understand that part to efficiently communicate this. At the highest levels, they look for this. Okay, so I understood this in my transition when from 3D to 2D, and I was able to learn this craft and then the art of animation. And after this, it was a cakewalk. Now, I talked about specialization before, right? So when you apply for a job, you need to know where you are applying as a modeler or animator, or as a lighting artist or texture artist. Now we need to understand the dynamics inside the studio. So these are the specializations. You have so that is someone who makes a design, storyboard, character modeler, animator, set modeler, texture artist, lighting rendering, technical director in lighting, and technical director in rigging. Now, suppose you have a studio of size 100. Okay, this is exactly the split up of the designations or the job opportunities you have inside the studio. If it is if it is a 100 people studio, you will have a 3D. You will have like a 30 to 45 3D animators, and you will have only 2 to 5 design and the storyboard artists, character modeler between 5 to 10, and set modeler between 10 to 15, lighting run most like 13 to 14 shots, 20 to 30, rigging and technique directors 2 to 5. And the directorial positions, you will have a supervising director, your creative director, art director. That's variable. Now when you look for a job, you need to understand this before you specialize that where do you actually fit? Are you really good in character modeling? Even if that is the case, then you can choose character modeler, because there's only 10 positions left for you to grab, or not even 10. Let's say 2 or 3 only in a 100 people studio. So if your average in of your game, you need lots of 3D animation, because every shot you need to manually animate. So out of 100, 40 jobs go to animators. So that's why even now, if you're good in 3D animation, finding a job for you is not easy. I mean, it's not hard at all. Same with lighting and rendering. So this combination, if you understand, you can kind of specialize based on this. Because say if there are like 10 good modelers, 10 really, really good modelers, but there are only 2 positions left. The first and the second is going to get the job. The third one, even though he is good at, he may not get a job. So this combination you should understand, and this is what it is across all the studios, visual effects or TV shows or movies or feature films. This is the regular combination or the traditional combination, which you can take it for granted that this will be the combination. Now, the interesting part is, so far what we spoke is as with regard to entertainment. Entertainment, I mean some kind of a TV show or a cartoon show or a feature film animation or advertisement, these things. Now what is happening is the use of 3D and the 3D media is not is no longer limited to entertainment in the starting from now or started 2 years back, but it's no longer limited to entertainment. The developments in artificial intelligence, ML, ML is machine language, ML, OpenCV, and that is taking a huge development and huge difference, that is bringing a huge difference in the 3D and the visual effects. Well, let me just quickly tell you, I'll not go into the details, it's very technical, but artificial intelligence, you might have all seen the movies by Spielberg, something which has a little brain of its own, right? For example, till 3 years back, if I have to remove a background from my photograph, I have to know Photoshop, right? I have to open Photoshop, I have to rotate it, and then I can remove the background. Now you have websites. If you just upload your image, it removes the background, it applies a color to it. You can change the color online. There are websites to remove the VG. This is use of artificial intelligence and OpenCV, machine language. So, what I'm using now, the Canva. Now, if I have to make a presentation now, before you need a Photoshop guy or someone who works with PowerPoint. Now you have templates with super color combinations and each to uniquely represent a business presentation. I can pick up template, making videos, making doodle videos, which only artist was able to do 2-3 years back, is easy and on the fingertips right now. And this, I used to remember before 5 or 6 years, there used to be a lot of people who call themselves a graphics artists. They used to work in the Xerox shops. They used to have in the printer shops. All they do is make nice visual videos, small videos and average images using Photoshop and CorelDRAW. Now nobody, I didn't find anyone, because it's all online now. Anyone can do it right now. So these are taking away the jobs. Okay, what essentially or basically used to be done by 2D Photoshop artists or 3D artists. You have a Doodly which you can make doodle videos. And Reface. Reface is an example of, has anyone used Reface? I don't know, but I'll show you what Reface is doing. In the next screen, I'll show you what Reface is. So what you saw is Thor's face replaced by my face. Now imagine now how hard it would have been before a couple of years. You would have to make a 3D model of my face. You have to track the character. You have to object track it, motion track it, put my face there. You have to render it. Now I was able to do this in just one click. There is a free app called Reface. You have the image clip. You just upload your face, some photo from your mobile. It gives you this output, right? So now you understand the kind of developments which are happening in AI ML, right? So moving on, what are the 3 distinct areas in which the automation in augmented reality and ML is really going to affect the 3D and the way 3D content creation is made? That's one is whatever you're doing, the simple objects, right? Now you can do it in a finger click. You can upload an image, you can upload my photo, and you can make a 3D model out of it. Okay, now don't be scared, because I'm going to show you some really good things which you think that which will kind of take away your jobs, but that's not the case. So from 2D to 3D, this is on a finger clip. This image which you see on the screen, I didn't model it. I just uploaded my selfie and it created me this in one click for free. Okay. Now I can rig it or I can use it, whatever, it's up to me. So now also model is like this. You upload a 2D model, it gives a 3D model. Second thing, you have your websites which will give you automated rigs, right? I don't know if you know about it, but we always use in AR VR, we use a lot of those. You upload a model, you can just make a rig out of it for free. And now you have your volumetric capture video cameras. What is volumetric capture? These are the specific kind of cameras which are not the regular video cameras. These are the depth cameras. So you buy these cameras, and if you put it in a particular place, say house or anywhere, it scans all the area around the camera, and it gives you 3D outputs, as in proper 3D sets of the surrounding areas. However large it can be. It can be up to acres. You just have to move the camera around, and it will have like a 10 meters around it, and it will create all the sets in 3D, and it will give you data scans, which you can import in Maya, and you want to do anything, you can do with it. So the content creation is heavily challenged, and they are being used right. Thing is, rotomation and masking, and these are all visual effects areas. So 3D post estimation, motion capture, and cameras and 3D images. Now you know what is rotomation. There is a whole big industry in visual effects with rotomation, right? Most of the studios, almost like 70% of the studios in India, they do roto work for Hollywood industries in visual effects. All these are going to be heavily challenged because we have systems coming up which can automate this, like this. You upload an image, the algorithm behind it tells you, or kind of, it does the job free for you. It separates the character from the background, and now we can save it as another layer. And also you can track the character, and you can track the sets. Now, I mean, pretty much the job of rotomation is handled in one click. The visual effects studios, the dynamics is going to heavily change. Motion capture, so far what was the case with motion capture is, you need to have a really big motion capture setup, where you might have heard that people going to this motion capture studios and wearing all this wearables and doing this capture, actions which have been captured as animation data. Now your mobile devices can do that. Any camera, you have systems with which you can capture the animation, your own animation, and you can export that as animation data files into Maya, and you can use it. You can fit it in your own model. These systems and SDKs are already in place. So motion capture is going to be heavy again. So what motion capture do is, it can give you realistic animations. Whatever you do, walk, sit, this, that. That's what motion capture is for. That is again going to be heavily challenged. The motion capture studios are going to reduce slowly. The cameras we covered. I'll just show you a small example of what volumetric capture is. Whatever you see here, they have cameras in the 360 degrees. The left one is a video of the whatever action which is happening, and the right one, the right video, is a proper volumetric capture. In 3D data, this will happen in a minute. That is all it takes. They give you 3D outputs with the cloth simulation and everything. Right. So imagine 2 years or 3 years back, if I show you that this video and I tell you to replicate this, you may charge me 10 lakhs for this, or any studio would charge me 10 lakhs for this. So I can do it for free. Of course, I have to pay this system, but not 10 lakhs, maybe 5,000. Yeah, like I said, there is no need to panic because of this, because I'll tell you what AL, ML, and these developments can do and cannot do, so that we get prepared for that. Okay. Okay. Before going to that, now what was the job scenario before? Is you study animation, you are supposed to apply only to the animation studios who are making entertainment ads or TV shows or that. Now it's not limited to that. There's a whole new, I would say almost 10 more or 30 more times jobs available than how it was before. I'll explain you why. Now, let's say in a decent level, let's pick the top animation studios in India. We can count it to say 10 studios. They're the top studios, okay, who have a strength of somewhere between 500 to 1,000. Okay, there are only 10 studios like that, who have a strength between 500 artists to 1,000 artists. 10 or maximum 50. I'm covering the whole of India here. All right. So now when you want a career and you are supposed to apply only to this 10 animation studios. And I previously explained what is the dynamics inside the studio. Only 5 modeling jobs, only 10 lighting jobs. And if they get more project, there is going to be another 5 modeling jobs. This was the limitation before. Now what is going to happen is, okay, there is 10 animation studios, top animation studios, the strength of 500 to 1,000. Now, how many IT companies are there with the strength 500 to 1,000 in India? If you can guess, there is at least 100 companies. In every city, IT companies with strength between 500 to 1,000, we have at least 30 companies in the metros at least. Okay, so taking the whole of India, you have almost like 100 IT companies who will now recruit 3D artists, testing the crash scenarios through AR and VR, and safety training is happening through AR and VR, where suppose if there is a particular safety measure which they need to make, say a fire enacting scenario. I was working in this project where we had to replicate this particular scenario where in Gulf, there was 10 deaths happening in a year because they have to go to the sea and there is this particular place where they need to press a button and they need to enter it. And there is some gas which is coming there, poisonous gas, and there was in an average 10 deaths which were happening in this Gulf. So we had to recreate the whole set and scenario in VR. And these guys who are working were very manual workers. They will go through this training using this virtual reality. It will be exactly like how they will go there. They're supposed to enter with this button, poisonous gases in these days, which is a very good application. For that, you need 3D artists. You need to develop the whole set, and it was a huge work. And healthcare, you have your virtual training in operations right now. You have your anatomy lessons in healthcare. And tourism and hospitality, you have a virtual zoos, you have virtual museums. So the opportunities are, I would say, 100 more times than how it was before. There's no need to fret. Okay. Now, Amazon, if you see, they're converting all their products to 3D. Whatever you see in Amazon, it has been converted to 3D now. The Chennai branch in Amazon has at least 500 or 400 artists doing only this work. Okay. Now, if you Google for Google Swirl, if you just type Google Swirl, you will find that all your Google ads, now they will be in 3D, where you can touch and rotate and see the model. This is a huge application. And AR brochures, whatever the brochures in real estate, which we were seeing, the house images in paper, they are all becoming 3D now. Okay, so AR brochures for advertisement is going to be a huge industry. And immersive AR education, which I already covered. And more importantly, you might have known this, Geo glasses has come up, and Apple is developing a glass, Facebook is developing a glass, Google is coming up with their own glass. So in a couple of years, maximum in 3 years, we all will be owning a mobile, and also we'll be owning a AR glass. Where if you wear that AR glass, you'll be entering into a augmented reality world. And the world will look like this. If you go on a road, you will see all the media, your interactive media, or 2D images and 3D models, and combined with the actual data. If you enter a particular mall or a street, this is how it will look like. You can interact using a glass with your touch gestures, with your fingertips. You can get all the information combined with 3D and 2D on your fingertips. You won't be using a mobile to browse. Rather, you will be using a hand and the glasses to just touch in the air, just like Iron Man does, right? That is where we are going towards. And this is not very far from the future. It's already happening. Geo has already released this glass, so you know how close we are to this. So any company who is doing this will need a 3D team. Without that, they can't do this. This I don't know if any one of you have used the VR devices. If you have some kind of introduction, then you know that there is a device called Oculus Quest. It is a wireless communication virtual reality device, and Facebook owns it. Okay, now you should understand how big Facebook is, because Facebook has about 2.80 million accounts, and 90% of them are mobile users, and most of them are around age 20 to 40. Now, what will happen in the next 2 years is you will have a Facebook account, you will have an Oculus device because Facebook owns Oculus, and you will log into you won't be logging into Facebook browser. You will be logging into Facebook virtual, which they call as Facebook Horizon, which is a social VR. So what you will be doing is, now what do you do to hang out? You go to a coffee shop, you sit there, you wait for coffee, you see someone, maybe you see a girl, you may have a look, some of you may share a little eye gaze, and one of you will take the eye gaze away. The exact same scenario will happen in virtual world. You'll be logging into your Facebook. If your friends list, anyone is online, you'll be seeing their avatars sitting in front of you, or in a mall, or in a coffee shop. So you can move your keys and you can walk. You can see the eye gaze of your friend who will also be as an avatar. And there is something called as haptics, which are wearable gloves, which will give you a touch and feel experience. Also, you'll be in the virtual world. You'll be able to touch and feel and interacting with your friends in Facebook avatar. I mean, in Facebook Horizon, which is virtual socializing. This is already in development and it's released also. You can Google and find more details. For all this, you need 3D artists, right? Without 3D artists, there is nothing which can do. There is only codes and there is only programming behind it. For the front end, it has to be someone like us. So I gave you a fair idea of what AL and MA can do. And what it cannot do is, it can replace the tools, which will make you remove all that in one click. This is all it can do. Okay, it can make your work faster by removing your, by making automated tools out of it. So if you are a roto artist who's getting paid by doing only rotomation, if you are someone like that, then you need to be worried because these tools are going to replace your job. It can, for example, in Maya, if I make a key in frame 0 and if I make a key in frame 10, what Maya does is it interpolates the keys in between, right? It will give you a motion. I make a key here, I make a key there, it will give you a motion. It was not possible in 2D. In 2D, you have to draw every frame. So what Maya did is, it took away the job of the in-betweeners in 2D, who were only filling the gaps in 2D, right? Like that, now that tool, which is right now in Maya, will be replaced by this tool. So when you make a frame, you give Maya to, you give the ML and AI algorithms 2 images, it will create interpolation. What it cannot do is, it cannot think for you. It cannot make that drawing beautiful. It cannot give you a good pose. It cannot give you looking for realism. If you are basing your art and your career upon to achieve realism, you need to be worried because these tools will do it for you and people will not recruit for that in the coming days. But if you are basing your art and if you're taking it one step ahead, like you go past the realism, for example, if you know how to animate cartoon animation, if you are really good at animating like cartoon, like a Tom and Jerry, your AL and ML in next 100 years cannot do it for you. And if you know how to animate a dragon, if you know the difference between animating a dragon and if you know a difference between animating a dog, that AL and MI cannot do for you. Same, apply that to all the departments, modeling also. You know the aesthetics in your form, you can exaggerate a little in the areas, you can reduce a little, you can make a caricature. These things your AL and ML cannot do. Yeah, so summing up, this we already spoke with Rushal. First, we have to analyze your own skills and decide where we fit and compare that with the job market. What are the job existing scenarios? How many openings are available? I told you the combination of 100 people studio and all that. So just put your basic math calculations, see where you fit. And if you really want to get a job in character modeling, go for it. If you think up there, you have to go for it. If not, then choose wisely. Second, learn the basic tools and specialize in one thing first and then add another specialist. What do I mean by that? If you're really good at 3D modeling, you have to be really good at modeling, but you have to know texturing also and little bit of lighting. Same, if you're really good in animation, you have to become really good in animation. You have to learn a little bit of rigging to it. So choose a first primary specialization and a secondary specialization. And third, prepare yourself for the future jobs, because this is the market, right? We are not controlling it, the market is controlling us. So if there is a scenario where the job is available, easily going to be available, then even if you're average, they'll pick you up. To think on these immersive technologies, you have to be aware of these things, aware of what the 3D, like if you are a roto artist, then you should not stick to automation. Be in the thick of the things. Keep Googling and finding out what tools are coming up and what is the job scenarios and all that, and be prepared for it, because that will make your life my life very easy, because I got into AR and VR when it started, and right now it is the prime, and choose wisely based on these things.
So I think this was a really very fruitful session, and Mr. Anand had a lot of good things to share about the industry and the current trends and what we can expect in the near future. I think it was really insightful, because like even for our faculties and students, everyone. So we really learned a lot from you, and thank you so much for taking out the time from your schedule to speak with us.